Hello, Oracles. My goodness, feels like it's been forever since I've seen you guys. I took a few days off, and I appreciate the patience. Just got so much going on in my life right now that just needed some downtime. So I appreciate that. So here we are back at it. So much drama going on in the macro environment. Hey, Raymond, how's it going? Yeah, there's a lot of drama, and you guys see here the Silicon Valley Bank. If you guys have not heard, they were trying to raise funds. So it's one of the largest banks that are out there, at least on the West Coast. And what ended up happening was, I guess they do a lot of loans for startup companies. They were involved in some cryptocurrency, things like that. So now that we're in a position in the macro environment that's very uncertain, and there's a lot of companies that are folding, they're losing these customers, and they ended up going so they did get bailed out. The government's going to bail them out, said that they're going to be there, they're not going to, they don't want to scare people into pulling deposits out. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Dan Ives does feel like this could be a sort of domino effect that could be longer lasting. We're going to have other companies like this if we do get into there's more banks that are like this out there. And if we do get into a situation where we're potentially getting into a recession, maybe in 2024, if that ends up happening, we could see more of this going on. So obviously a lot to play out, but could be an interesting couple of years. And we keep on saying that, but it could be. I think the next 2 years could be interesting. I'm still looking at 2025 as being a good, strong year, probably the year that we finally get back to bull market status. But that's as of right now, and that's a long ways away. How's it going, David? Hello, Karav. How are you, my friend? So yeah, so the stock today, let me bring it up here. Let me pop it up on here. There we go. So yeah, I mean, obviously we closed green today. The market was extremely unsettled. I mean, we hit a low of 163, bounced off of this. And if you guys can see here, I'll pop it up on full screen here for you. So if we look here at this line, this 167 line, this has been drawn in here for a long time, but the last 2 days we came real close to hitting that line and kind of bounced off of it. Looking at how we've been kind of playing out and coming down, there's one of two scenarios that I'm looking at right now. I do think in both scenarios, we are going to be pulling down before we go back up. So we have the gap here at 146, gap at 133, gap at 122, and gap at 114. So we could potentially hit a double bottom, which would be coming down here to this 114 level and then bouncing back up. Or we could end up pulling down further, break through that depending on the macro environment, and then carry on down below 100. I know it's scary to talk about, but it's something that's a possibility and potential, and I just want you guys to be aware of it. Looking at how this chart seems to be looking here with this big sweep here, if we play this out in that sort of scenario, we could see this being one shoulder, then this coming down, and if we dip down below 100, maybe hitting, again, filling that gap at 57, that could be a head, and then we can make another shoulder pattern on the other side. It's a reverse head and shoulders pattern, which typically means something bearish. However, if that ends up happening, don't forget we've had a couple of cup and handle patterns that broke and went the opposite direction. So lots of different things can happen. It's going to be a wild ride either way. So obviously nobody knows for sure what's going to happen, but those are just a couple of the things that I see as potentials playing out in the charts. Right now, what I'm doing for my own portfolio is if we fall below 150, right now I'm at $20 a day going into Tesla. If we fall below 150, I'm going to change that to $25 a day again and just watch from there. In my IRA right now, I have a lot of cash. So I sold out half of my position. I had 23 shares. I sold out 12. So I've got 11 left. I sold between 152 and 192. Now, if we end up pulling down, I have a buy-in right now at 125. Gonna monitor. I might end up putting in a buy at that 144 gap or 146 gap. I might do it there. If we're really showing signs after the FOMC meeting that we're going to get more rate hikes and it could get uglier, I'll wait and I'll just leave the 125 as my first buy in. But I've got plenty of cash ready to go. And this is why most of the time I'm cool, calm, and collected because I'm ready on both sides. I have, my half of my shares there in Tesla. So if we run, I'm good to go. And if we come down, I'm ready to buy more. Let's see. And then we've got, I had some Twitter news I wanted to pop up for you guys too. Let me see what I got here for you. Yeah, so much going on. And Rivian looks like Rivian and Amazon. Amazon had that exclusive partnership, and it looks like they want to break that. And they're choosing to go with the 10,000 vehicles, which is the lower end of the level of what they were going to be purchasing in the agreement from Rivian. So, not the greatest of signs for Rivian. I mean, we've got a lot of startups right now that are in kind of they're in rough shape. They've got a lot to get through, and it's not going to be an easy couple of years for them for sure. And if they have major financial backers like Amazon for Rivian, Ford did it as well to Rivian. So if they're losing some major financial backing, then they're going to be in trouble. Looking at Saudi Aramco hitting a record all time of any company ever of $161 billion in profits last year. That's first off disgusting. Obviously, the whole Russia Ukraine situation played into that because less people were buying from Russia, more people bought from Saudi Aramco, and then they were able to really almost monopolize the prices, which is ugly. But they're bought into Lucid. So I think they see the writing on the wall when it comes to the world's transitioning over to EVs. Lucid might actually get through if Rawlinson can prove that they can actually produce these vehicles. Right now, that seems to be the problem. They're not selling as many as they thought, and they're not producing them fast. So that could be an ugly situation, and maybe they end up dumping Lucid, and Saudi Aramco and Saudis end up buying another company. I don't know. Let me see. And Karav, yes, deliveries are trending towards 430,000. And I apologize, I haven't had a chance to really dive into numbers a lot. I updated my production forecast a couple of weeks ago. So those of you guys who are members and patrons, you saw that. And Karav has got some great numbers. So 430 is awesome. I know that a lot of us were thinking we would have seen that. That was basically the number for Q4 of last year. But hey, Q1 of this year, I'll still take it as well. Yeah, Jay Lizard. Yeah, Kia. There's a couple of players out there that are just kind of like they're not looking to win the game. They're just looking to play the game and be part of it. And I think that's going to be the people who do the best almost. Kia, they're not coming out here. They're not being like GM and saying, hey, we're going to lead the way. They don't have that status to live up to. Kia's just like, hey, you know what? We see this coming. We think we should switch over to EVs, and we're going to do it. And we're going to make a solid one. It's not going to be the best, but it's going to be an EV that people are going to want to buy. So good for them. And there's a few other companies out there that are like that as well. And you think about other vehicles that are out there on the market, even ICE vehicles. There are ICE vehicles out there that they're just it's getting people from point A to point B. They don't need the fanciest stuff. Yes, Tesla is obviously the safest vehicle on the road. They have, the best frills when it comes to what else they have to offer in their vehicles. But not everybody wants or needs that. They're just like, hey, can this get me from point A to point B in the cheapest way possible? There you go. And there's going to be a market for that as well. And hey, maybe the compact car, when Tesla comes out with it for the next gen, is going to end up filling that role. Raymond, share price right now is driven by macro events, maybe small movements on a monthly production figures. Next Tesla earnings won't come out till April 19th. Yeah, that's what I've been saying too. I agree, Raymond. We have nothing unless Tesla announces something as a surprise, which I highly doubt. We're not going to see much in the way of Tesla specific movements coming at all. It's going to be more macro driven. I mean, we've got tomorrow's CPI. Wednesday is going to be the PPI. Next week, we've got the FOMC meeting. The week after, or 2 weeks after that, is going to be the PCE data. There's a lot of macro data coming out. It's not going to be pretty. And then should be April 2nd, we will get Q1 production and delivery numbers for Tesla. So that'll be a big day. But again, if we're looking at, like Karav said, at 430,000, that's going to be a nice bump from where we were at 405, but it's what we were expecting last quarter. So I don't think it's going to be much to really throw the stock upwards in any momentum whatsoever. I think there's going to be so much heavier stuff going on. Even when we get Tesla's earnings, I don't even know if that's going to move it much. Realistically, there's just so much going on with the macro. Let's see, Marty. Inventory is down both China and in the US. That's about 60K on top of whatever they can deliver. That's true. And as Karav had been mentioning before as well, Europe, the inventory is coming down over there. They did some price cuts in Europe, and that's been working quite well. So we've seen the inventory coming down over there significantly. What do you think CPI will be tomorrow? Did Biden know something? Look, I'm not going to get political, but Biden, I don't know. I don't know. I don't trust any politicians out there, regardless of what party they're from. I think they're all full of crap, and don't trust any of them. So, as far as I'm concerned, right now the expectations are 6% year over year. I actually, you know what? Let me see. I'm not even sure what I'll take a look right now. Um, Investing. CPI monthly. See what the monthly number is for. Yeah, so forecast for month over month is 0.4%. So we're looking at 6% year over year and a 0.4% month over month. I don't know. We may miss. I mean, I was hearing rumors that the Fed went from thinking we would do maybe a 50 basis point hike and rate increases through June to now maybe pausing, which makes no logical sense to me. I don't know. All I know is that CPI tomorrow 6%. Even if we do get a 6%, that's still down from where we were, but like it's definitely moving slower than what we originally thought. So what I have to go back to is when we saw all the adjustments to last year's numbers, like had we gotten those numbers correct originally, the market would not have behaved the way it did. And now we're in a position where we kind of have to backtrack and be like, well, inflation wasn't coming down as fast. It was coming down, but not as fast as we thought. So should the market be where it's at now based upon that information? And then on top of it, are we getting the information now? Is the CPI number we're going to get tomorrow even going to be accurate? I don't know. It's so hard to go by. I mean, who knows? We could be getting a number tomorrow that comes in at 5.8, but then find out 7 months from now that it really was a 6.2. And obviously in the moment, the market's going to react differently. If we get a 6.2 tomorrow on a 6.0 forecast, market's not going to be happy. But if we get a 5.8, the market would be happy. So again, it's so hard to tell what's going on. We just have to, basically take what the market gives us. That's all we can do. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So Europe is looking good too. So I think again, we're moving in the right direction. So Tesla obviously knows their numbers way better than any of us. Tesla knows how to manipulate, the price to be able to move the inventory wherever they want it to be, still keep all the margins that they want. As Karav is saying, they can keep on coming down on the prices in Europe and still keep margins over 20%. Yes, I know the goal for Tesla was really 30%, but we're kind of in this economic spot right now where 30%, not to say it's unrealistic, but based upon the prices that Tesla has, it's going to be a lot harder to move that many deliveries that they want to. So they're going to come down. They're going to use that pricing power that they've got, which clearly we talked about all last year. They've got that pricing power, so they can come down on their prices, still keep, industry leading margins over 20%. Over 15% is still industry leading margins. So they can keep over 20% margins. Then they're going to have the next gen platform come out at the end of 2024, cut costs in half, which means that they can sell vehicles for even less than they're selling right now and make even more margins. It's all moving in the right direction. We just have to make sure we're looking out the right length to see this. So we have to make sure we're paying attention. 2025 is really my key time frame I'm looking at right now, because 2025, I think, is going to be that sweet spot year where Tesla has cut costs significantly. It's not going to be 50% in 2025, but if they bring costs down even 25% or 30% by 2025 from where they are now, based upon the next gen platform, we could be looking at, them having a lower priced vehicle during a rough economic time, blowing vehicles out of the water and still making 25 to 30% margins on them. So I'm very excited for the future. And yeah, and then the production. Yeah, Europe should be at 5,000 per week soon. They're at 4,000 now. They bumped up quickly. So they were at 3,000 in December and only took them basically 2.5, almost 3 months to get themselves to 4,000. So I think the way that they're going, we could be seeing 5,000 probably, I would say by May. Heck, maybe even by Q1 earnings. Maybe we're at 5,000 a week by then. And I'm surprised we haven't, unless I missed it. Did we get 4,000 a week in Austin? Any announcement from that yet? I haven't seen anything. I'm sure I would have, but they should be pretty close. But last it was weird because I would have thought Austin would have hit it first. But I don't know. But they're neck and neck either way. It's going to be close. Let's see what else we got here. Roman, VIX got over 30 today. Repeat tomorrow. Ooh, I did not. I meant to look at the VIX. Thank you. Yeah, VIX. So that's a volatility index. If you guys are not aware, so volatility index over 30 is usually pushing that very uncertain range. Once you get over 35 to 40, then it's bad. I remember, I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 60 or something when we were going through COVID, which that was scary times. In the moment, it was scary. Obviously, people who understood what was going on used it as a great buying opportunity. Jay Lizard, so right. The feds don't want to show their cards to us, friends and family first, of course. Hey, everybody, here's what's going to happen. You do your thing. Just like when it came to SVB, what was going on, some people knew 2 days ahead of time what was going to be happening with that. So people were shorting like crazy on it because they knew it was about to crash. Is it 6%? Ooh, you know what? And investing is what I use. 6% is what I saw today. Let me double check. I will double check investing. Hold on, folks. Let me see here. Perhaps they updated it. Investing year over year CPI. Yep, 6% on investing.com. It's year over year. Unless 5.6% is core. Let me see what core is. Actually, I could do this. So you guys can see it with me. Look at that. It's like fancy dancy. Investing year over year core CPI. Yeah, it's core. So core is 5.5%. Last month was 5.6%. There we go. So and core is important. So core is what the Fed says that they can control. So that is important to watch as well. And my feeling is when it comes to the rates, last we saw when it comes to the median aggregate, which we should be finding out, what we just found out sort of recently is where the Fed on a group level thinks they're going to get the interest rates to. And initially, before we had just found out recently, it was 5 to 5.25%. Now they're at 5.75 to 6%. So significantly higher. And I'm wondering if that's because of timing wise, they want to slowly push it up, but get interest rates above inflation. This is something that people have talked about before, because if you get interest rates here, it's almost like you can kind of push inflation down. It's hard to tell because they're using lagging data, and it takes sometimes 3 to 6 months for their interest rates to actually kick in and take effect. So if they get it to that point and they're like, hey, you know what? We've got core inflation is at 5.6%. We've got interest rates at 5.75%. We're now comfortably above that. Now we'll wait for it to come down. And then they may just wait and say, all right, well, if we've got inflation coming down, they've got interest rates at 5.75%, inflation comes down to 5%. Maybe they're going to wait for it to be a 1% gap, and then they can come down that 0.25% to just kind of make sure it's in line. But it could take some time. So, and again, month over month is important as well, because when you start looking at high inflation data, which we're getting into high inflation times from last year over year, having higher inflation numbers still, that's not good. You think about the 0.5% month over month. that year there is looking at a 6% annualized. 0.4% is going to be a 4.8% annualized. So, looking at it month over month is important as well. Let's see, Marty. If auto margins stay over 20% in Q1, the stock will moon given that Tesla could cut prices further and grab additional market share if they wanted. I would agree, except for the fact that the market is pricing in at least 24% margins. So, from our standpoint as investors on the retail side, this is what I think most of us believe this as well. I think if we see anything over 20%, it's good news. Unfortunately, the market is probably looking for 24%. So if we're at 20%, let's say we come in at 22, that's a margin miss. Market may not be happy about that. And that's one of the reasons I like Gary Black is I know a lot of times we think the market's stupid. We don't agree with the market. They don't understand what's going on with Tesla long term. But unfortunately, the market is what kind of drives the stock price in the near term. So if you're not concerned about the stock price in the near term, hey, have at it. Let the market do its thing. Give us a better buying opportunity because they're selling off in the near term. Cool. Just one of those things to pay attention to when it comes to what's actually happening in the market and why the stock moves the way it does. Pops, what's going on? Hey, Tim. My first live stream only because I have a flat tire on the side of the road, of course. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully you get that repaired soon. I hope somebody's on their way to help you out. That's not cool. Flat tires are not fun at all. I ran over one of the roads I take is under construction. I'm going to take a different route tomorrow because I ran over something and I thought I blew my tire out too. Jay Lizard. Tesla's competition craps every time Tesla changes their prices. They don't know how to react whatsoever. They don't. And the reason they don't is the same reason why when it comes to Tesla stock, we see a lot of people emotionally reacting because they are not prepared mentally, financially, or whatever for the stock price to come down. You have to have a realistic viewpoint as to the fact that the stock could come down. I still have on my radar a potential that we come down and fill that $57 gap sometime in the next 18 months. I mean, for me, I am prepared for that. So if it happens, I will take advantage of that. People who aren't prepared or who just mentally can't wrap their brain around that just get frustrated and they get emotionally involved, and you can't have your emotions in there. You're not ready for it. So same goes for the competition. They're not ready for Tesla to come down on prices. They don't have any margins whatsoever on their EVs. So if Tesla comes down on prices, they can't come down on their EV prices anymore. They have to come down on their ICE prices. They don't even make much money on those. So when it comes to actual vehicle prices, Tesla is really handcuffing everyone out there in the EV space and beyond. Let's see. And just so you guys are aware, I'm going to be doing live streams all week long, just for what's been going on with my schedule. It's going to be easier for me. And I love chatting with this whole conversation with you guys. So much better than me sitting here and talking to myself and then trying to catch up with you guys in the comments. Way better. So I'll be doing live streams all week long. I will not have one Wednesday because I get my son Wednesday. So I'll see. I may do a video that night just to do a recap on stuff. But yeah, so I'll just do some live streams all week long. But they won't be like an hour. Maybe they will. Maybe I'll ramble on because you guys keep me entertained. So I'll try to keep them short, like a half an hour, so they can be rewatchable later. So I may kick off of here very soon. But let's see. What is the macro news that takes Tesla back to 250 or 300? That there is going to be, for anybody who paid attention to the video that Adam and I did, I'm looking at more and more data on this, and it seems to make a lot more sense the more I look at it. When the Fed pauses, we may get to all-time highs. So if we end up seeing the Fed take us up to that 6% level for interest rates and then pause, at that point, we might see a rally. Now, in the S&P, that could be all-time highs. Now, I also hear a rumor that the S&P is kind of breaking down and we may hit a low of 3,200. Which one comes first, I don't know. So historically, when the Fed pauses, we rally, potentially hitting all-time highs. When the Fed pivots, we crash and go into a recession. That could last up to a year. Now, At that point, it's when the Fed starts not dropping rates anymore that we end up coming out of it. The Fed anticipates dropping rates through 2026. So we might not see any sort of turnaround in a massive way with a bull market for a while. It's just something I'm mentally preparing myself for. I'm also ready if the market turns around and truly goes into a bull market tomorrow. I'm ready for that also. But I've got to think of worst case scenario and be ready for that. Because when you look at the best times to invest historically, Peggy put up a great chart today of all the panic. Actually, let me see if I can find it because it was awesome. Let me see here. Peggy, if you guys don't follow Peggy, I highly recommend following Peggy as well. Let's see here. Peggy, there it is. Let me get this up for you guys. So yeah, so looking here, like all of these panic times for the entire market, like all of these red lines here, these are all panic, 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 times to sell, times to sell. And since then, since the crash that we had from the housing crisis, we're up 495%. So when we are looking at times to buy, if you're holding for a long time, if you're investing for generational wealth, it doesn't matter when you buy. The market historically will always go up. If the market comes down and is never going to come back again, then we've got bigger problems. The market's always going to go up. So whatever times you feel are the right time to buy, just buy and hold. Really doesn't matter for long-term investing. Obviously, you want to pick the right companies, pick the right stocks, ETFs, whatever you're going to do. Do whatever's right for your own risk tolerance. But that's what ends up happening over the long term is just that. So, it's when we're looking at what could potentially be happening over the next couple of years, buy now, buy later. For my thought is every 10 years we get this massive pullback. So obviously 2009 was that time we got that massive pullback. Buying in at that time, you just hold for 10 years and you're up a lot. So same holds true for what we're seeing right now. We're kind of going into one of those times again. So we could be seeing 10 years from now a massive run. Maybe we do end up pulling back and maybe we drop another 50% from where we're at right now. If that happens, sure, you just buy lower, but we'll end up coming back to this level eventually. That's just what I'm waiting for is that potential deeper pullback. David, yeah, CPI. We were talking about that before. I think we're going to come in. It's hard to even guess anymore, man. Just because of all the revisions they made from last year, I'm just going to go with the 6%. I think we're going to end up hitting that number, maybe because of Biden's reaction. Maybe we coming into 5.9%. I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, that's another one too. Ford and GM doing their voluntary layoffs, slashing production of their workforce. And I've heard rumors of Toyota having struggles with some production. Yeah, there's a lot of troubles that are still out there. So it's not like these. It's not like all those supply chain issues that we went through are gone. They're still out there. There's still a lot of issues that people are having, and labor's a problem. A lot of people who are trying to grow can't find labor. Meanwhile, we've got Tesla's trying to find as many people as possible. GM and Ford are laying people off. Now, if the people that they're laying off are people that Tesla wants, maybe they end up taking them over there. Don't know who it is that they're laying off. I know in GM's case, it was some salaried employees, management. That's something that Tesla's probably like, meh, we're good. We don't need those people. Tesla's probably doing the same themselves. So those people are, and it stinks. You never want to see layoffs. You never want to see people losing their jobs. But unfortunately, that is what ends up happening during times like this. $57 is like a porn fantasy. I mean, honestly, I'm as far as I'm concerned when it comes to $57, I had it on my radar before. I'm not going to take it off of my radar until I get any sort of signal that tells us that we're not going to go into a deeper recession. That's got to stay on my radar. I have to be aware of that because otherwise, you get emotions involved and you have to be ready for it. I'm hoping for the 145 gap fill soon. That'll be enough for me to re-enter. Yeah, that's when I start increasing my daily ads. So I think we're gonna get down there. To take advantage of the $57 gap, I'd need cash. To get cash, I'd have to sell Tesla. That's one of the struggles with people who go all in on Tesla. Now, if you're a long-term investor, doesn't matter. You kind of have to ride it out and kick yourself and be like, dang, wish I found another way to make some cash. That's why I said basically all of last year, find yourself a side gig. If you're not working and you're retired, maybe go back to work. Whatever you can do to bring in more money if you want. Again, do what you want to do for your own self. But if you want to invest more and you don't have any cash, find something, sell stuff that you have around the house. Maybe you've got tchotchke things that you don't want anymore, sell them on eBay, whatever, just to get some cash for yourself. So that's kind of where I'm at. Is that's why I've been busting my butt doing so much with other social media here on YouTube, Beachbody, all sorts of stuff to try and bring in more money so I can invest that money because these are the times that I want to do that. And a lot of times when I see some of the big names like the Stephen Mark Ryans, Meet Kevin's, and they're like, "Hey, I'm all in." Well, Meet Kevin's not all in, but like when they say that they're all in on Tesla stock, I think that's awesome. And kudos to you guys for taking that risk. That's awesome. Some of these guys, though, we have to remember they've got a massive cash flow coming in from other sources. So a lot of them have real estate. And so they have this cash flow coming in. They've got their YouTube channels that do extremely well. So even if Tesla went to zero, they still have a massive cash flow coming in. They don't need to have that. And so when they have opportunities where Tesla does come down lower, they have that cash coming in to be able to buy more. And so just for you guys who are all in, I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that for these guys. If you guys are just all in and you're okay with that, that's cool too. Not, nobody's judging anybody anywhere. Just saying that that there to me is something that I want to make sure you guys are aware of is some of these guys have massive cash flow coming in from other places so they can take advantage of the stock price coming down. Yeah, the floor of 160. I mean, we bounced off of 163 today. I do still think we're going to fall below that. It's almost plain and obvious that we're going to fall below that. So I just don't know what's going to happen between now and then, whether we go up and come back down or what. Michael, hey Tim, great to see you again. Here's to a great show. Let's keep the eye out of the price functions. Yes, thank you. Good to see you again, sir. Let's see what else we got in here. Smash that like button, my man Mike. What's going on, Mike? Sorry, reading through this here. Marty, investing in auto margins come down, but megapack margins start exploding? How will Wall Street react? That's a good question. I don't know when we're actually going to see margins and broken out numbers for megapacks. I think energy obviously is going to do extremely well, but we might not see Tesla actually break out those numbers till probably 2024. So this year might be kind of like a bump. I don't know. I still think we're going to end this year higher than we finished last year. But I just don't know what's going to happen over the course of the year. Moose, hey Tim, good to see your fitness journey seems to be going well. Yes, it is. Thank you. I am down 5 pounds, 4 pounds now. I went back up 1, but the belly's going down. And today, all of my weights almost doubled in lifting. So definitely feeling much better. I busted up my calf last Friday, but it's actually feeling better today. I'm going to see my massage therapist this weekend. Got to take care of the body. It doesn't matter how much wealth you have without your health. It means nothing. Can't enjoy your wealth without your health. Coinbase shot up 13% at one point today. Yeah. So when it comes to Coinbase, and I'm sure anybody of you have cryptocurrency, definitely noticeable. The crypto with the SVB bank crash that happened over the weekend, obviously crypto felt that significantly. Then they got the bailout, so crypto rebounded. Coinbase was going to rebound with it. There's Marathon and Riot blockchain. Both of those are good swing plays. I've heard some people doing very well with both of those because they're based upon cryptocurrency and the blockchain. So they swing in a very volatile manner, very risky. But if you follow any patterns when it comes to cryptocurrency, could be good swing plays to get into if that's something you guys want to pay attention to. HK losing hope. No, no losing hope. We're good. Remember, focus on what your long term thesis is. Long term thesis is different for everyone. If your time horizon is 1 year, could be a rough year. If your time horizon is 5 to 10 years, just let this go. If you can buy more, great. If not, hold. I think you're going to be fine. Yeah, sheesh, Pesci. I got to get Peggy back on here. I love chatting with Peggy. He's great. All right. I'm going to get off in a minute here, but I want to go through all the rest of your comments here. You guys have been great tonight. And we're at 69 people watching. Yeah. Let me see. Mm, What's my take on Bitcoin? I was talking to my buddy the other day about cryptocurrency. It's going to end up coming down to a lot about the blockchain. It's more about the technology than the coins themselves. The coins are going to come down to what's the functional coin that you can have. Bitcoin being the original, I think will be fine. I don't know what's going to end up being a store of value. But I think the good ones are going to be Ethereum. I think that's going to be the absolute top one because that's going to be the most versatile and functional out there. Doge, I think, is going to be fine because in looking at the actual technology, sure, it started as a meme coin, but it's actually a very viable coin for doing transactions. So, obviously Elon's going to be pushing it as much as he can, and I have no doubt it's going to be used over on Twitter. So I think Doge is ironically going to do quite well. So I think those are going to be the things to pay attention to are going to be the functionality of them. There's so many other frivolous coins that are out there that it's I don't know. It's going to be more trading stuff out there than anything. Think about global currencies that are out there, like Indonesia. I was looking at the rupiah the other day. It's almost like buying into a cryptocurrency because it's worth so little. But if you're looking at the future thinking, hey, if Tesla's going to end up putting a factory over in Indonesia, would it be worth it for me to buy into some rupiah now? Because perhaps the value of that goes up when Tesla puts a factory over there. Maybe something ends up happening with the country and it becomes sort of like, the Silicon Valley that we see happening down in Austin. Companies start moving over there. We start seeing, a very, very flourishing society going in that area. Will that happen in Indonesia? It's obviously a risky move, but if you think that that could happen, perhaps you go there. Same thing goes with cryptocurrency. If you think this coin is going to be something that's going to be functional in a flourishing society for whatever reason and whatever purpose, could be worth buying into that. So those are just my takes on cryptocurrency and regulations. I think are going to be coming, if not this year, next year. And that's going to be the big boost for cryptocurrency, especially with the whole bank fallout of SVB. I think we're going to see cryptocurrency regulations, which is going to be good for it. A lot of people are against it. A lot of these pure crypto guys who are out there want a pure DeFi. But if you put regulations on it, you'll get the bigger money in there and it's going to be more secure for everyone. So I think that's going to be a good move. Michael, thank you. I appreciate that. Jay Lizard, can Elon say or do something on Twitter that will send Tesla to the moon? He never mentions Tesla, does he? He does. It's funny just watching Elon over there. He's been mentioning a lot about he does a lot of retweets. And this is one of the things that I pay attention to with Elon is when it comes to the companies itself that he's, obviously big owners of, he has put teams in place. He's not running the show. Maybe they run a lot of the things by him. Maybe he has a lot of the ideas. He's really more like a glorified cheerleader for these companies. So they're doing their thing and he just retweets their tweets. SpaceX, Tesla, Boring Company. That's what he's doing. And obviously now he's focused more on the Twitter side of things because that's his new toy that he's playing with. But he's able to play with that new toy because he has other people running all those other businesses so well. We saw Investor Day, 17 executives on stage all at once. That's an amazing team. And as Elon said, that wasn't even all of them. So yes, we want Elon to say something about Tesla, but in Elon's mind, he wants to separate himself from being that one sole person there. I know full well he loves that attention, but he doesn't want to be the one in that position where he says something that goes up. The SEC has given him enough crap for that in the first place. So if he can separate himself from that a little bit by doing this, I think it's actually going to be good for all of his companies and Tesla in particular in the long term. So I think it's a good thing. Elon's saying something that's going to send it. I don't even know what he could say. What could he possibly say right now that would send the stock to the moon? I mean, looking at the macro environment, even if they said, I would give you this, if they said next gen vehicle is going to be coming out next week, price is going to be $30,000, and we're looking at 25% margins, that right there would send the stock to the moon. However, that's not realistic. So I can't imagine anything else that would push it higher. Agreed. Long term, we're winners. Absolutely. Raymond, yes. Can't send Tesla to the moon anytime soon, but he can send Starship soon. That's true. I'm excited about that. And you got to remember too, think about all the different things that Elon's trying to do, and they're all separate pieces of the puzzle right now. By the end of the decade, we're going to see a lot of this puzzle coming together, and it's going to be huge for a lot of what's going on for Tesla and everything. Oh yeah. So, Jailers, I don't understand what Chicken Genius is saying about crypto. He is harping something he sees going on in Asia. So he's over there. So there's a lot of chatter going on. We don't see it here because it's over there in on the forums and social media in China. But in China in particular, there's been a lot of chatter going on about cryptocurrency. So that's one of the reasons why we saw this run that we have been seeing for the last couple of months is just that. So whether, it's just the excitement coming back over there, whether there's actually something deeper behind it, that I don't know. But there's a lot of chatter in the forums, and that excitement and euphoria is starting to come back over there, which has led to obviously the cryptocurrency moving up. Ooh, Marty, that's a good one. Doge will be used for robotaxi fares. I didn't even think about that. God, all the other things I've thought about for Dogecoin, you're spot on. Well done. That's absolutely going to be used. Let's see. Uh, Michael, one day this week, can you cover gaps up and down again? I'm an investor at a part-time trader. Yeah, absolutely. I will do that. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. I'll go over all the gaps and we'll discuss them up and down. There's actually only one gap above us. I looked, and unless there's something I missed, it looks like there's only a gap at 262. But I will definitely go over all the gaps. We'll take a look. Unless something major comes up in the news, we'll discuss CPI and gaps tomorrow. Johnny B. I don't think Indonesia is a consideration now. Why is that? I mean, I know they had the volcano that went off over there. I don't know if that's what you mean by that, but I do think Asia Pacific is. I sounds like Tom Ju said that we're going to hear about another factory this year, which I don't doubt. I think we will. I think it's going to be Asia Pacific because I think they do want to diversify out of China. Um, and I figured South Korea or Indonesia made the most sense. So just let me know why you would think it's not a consideration now. There maybe there's something I missed as well. Elon naming a Twitter CEO will send Tesla to the moon. I don't even know if it would anymore, honestly. It's kind of not to say it wouldn't, but even Elon said he's not even looking at doing one until the end of the year. He wants to make sure that they're solvent. I think once he gets them comfortably profitable and on that path, then he'll do it. But he doesn't see that happening until the end of the year. So it sounds like he'll be kind of focused on Twitter for the most of the year. Alan, you almost need a puppet show to explain to Tesla detractors what they're missing. Even then, they wouldn't get it. They're just some people who just don't understand. Stock buyback would send it. I don't even know. I mean, like I'm all for a buyback. I really am, but I don't even know if a buyback would do it. Similar to some of the situations we've seen because the macro is so strong, they do a buyback, whatever bump we see in the stock price would get swallowed up almost instantly. Like it's just this situation we're in right now. It's not an environment that's going to lead to long-term excitement because when you're in a market that we're in right now and a lot of people are swing trading, a lot of people are looking for that little piece of news that's going to bump the stock up for news. They're like, "Oh, I made my profit because we're not on this strong bull run and the macro is kind of leading us to believe we're going to come down." So anytime somebody buys and they get that bump for a quick profit, let's say it's 5, 6, 7%, they're like, bam, I'm going to take my profits, get out because I feel the stock's going to come back down again. And I'll wait for those stars to align where I think we've come down a little bit too low, buy in, wait for that great news, get my profits, and sell out again. So they're very short term swings when it comes to some news like that right now. Yeah, the amount of misinformation in the media is truly amazing. It really is. It's sad, and it's funny because like I chat with my dad all the time about stuff that's going on, and Elon's not wrong. Like when he says that Twitter is the place you can go to get the most accurate, truthful information as fast as possible. I'm over on Twitter. I don't know if you guys are over there and you have seen it, but when I'm on Twitter, I see this news and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. This is what's going on. And then I'll go over to my TD Ameritrade account and I'll see like the next day or later in the day, one of the articles pops up. My dad will mention to me a day or two later, hey, CNBC had this on the news. And I'm like, yeah, that's old news to me now. So it's crazy how mainstream media gets news 2 days late and they get it wrong. Just boggles my mind. Jersey guy, can you see Tesla Model S and X being discounted to the point where they're eligible for the tax incentive? I actually thought about that. I mentioned it the other day. They have to come down a lot. I thought it's a potential. I don't know in particular what their margins are on those two vehicles. It's definitely high, and it's not like they make a major impact to all the vehicles that they're selling right now. I know Karav breaks everything down by vehicles. I do not. So he would have a much better number on that. But looking at the numbers there, I mean, if they're looking at 45% margins on those vehicles, it's possible. It's possible they can come down that low. Whether they need to or not, I don't know. I think they're feeling that out right now. But I can't write it off entirely. Especially if they're going to be going into a position in the future where they're going to use the next gen platform on their current lineup, yes, they will definitely get down to that level because if they can cut costs on those vehicles by even 25%, then bringing down the price another 15% would be definitely doable. Elon announcing robotaxi service starting somewhere in 6 months would send the stock to the stratosphere. True. How many people would believe it though? Because FSD just getting to version 11 and needing regulatory approval, that's the hard part. Big news. I'm not checking on this, so I'm taking your word for this. So hopefully this is accurate, so you guys can spot check it. Big news: Volkswagen has announced a gigafactory for battery manufacturing in St. Thomas, Ontario, in Canada. I mean, good for them if they did. As far as I know, from what I've heard, Toyota seems to think it costs $10 billion to put up a battery factory. So I don't know. So if that's good news, I mean, good for them. Obviously, this is what Elon has been striving for: is changing the world over to renewable energy. Elon said himself, Tesla can't do it themselves. They need help elsewhere. If Volkswagen can actually pull this off and salvage it and start getting things going over here, obviously we know with the EV tax credit, they've got to have vehicles produced here in the US. So if this is something they can do, good for them. I think that's awesome. Ooh, say you had to pick two stocks that aren't Tesla for the next 5 years, what would they be? Ooh, that's a toughie. I would go with either AMD or Nvidia. I think those two are going to be very good. I've got Palantir. That one to me is a riskier play. I hear so many good things about it. I see it's got a lot of potential. It hit profitability, 3 years or 2 years ahead of schedule, which is awesome. Um, Apple's always a solid one. I mean, if you're looking for a more conservative but less risky growth play, Apple would be a way to go. So I would say probably Apple and either AMD or Nvidia would be my two that I would pick. Mm-mm. Oh, Johnny, here we go. Somebody said that at an investor day, they said that Indonesia was not one of the finalists. I hope I am wrong. Ooh, maybe I missed that. Was it one of the executives who said it or just somebody who happened to be there talking? I missed a lot of those interviews. Farzad had an awesome panel that was lined up there. I know Dave Lee, somebody else had gotten in and they got to speak to some people as well from the inside. So perhaps there's some people from the inside who found out about that. So I will have to go back and research some of that. Yeah, Rusker loves AMD and Nvidia. Those are going to be two big players. When you guys are looking at the future of, outside of the Tesla verse, what stocks to look into, look at where the world is moving to. Obviously, renewable energy, solar power, batteries, that whole entire thing is coming. When governments start making regulations, not just the US, but governments all around the world are making, laws and regulations for what's going to happen in the future, buy stocks and companies that are going to be doing well in that atmosphere. That it's very simple. They're basically laying out saying, this is where the world is heading. Who do you think the winners are going to be in that area? It's relatively easy to pick. Obviously, anything can happen to these companies. You want to make sure you research these companies to make sure they're good companies run by great CEOs. AMD's CEO is phenomenal. She's highly touted by a lot of people. So highly recommend that. Obviously, Nvidia's done extremely well. Apple, Tim Cook, doing great. So even if they don't make a car themselves, they'll be in that field. If you think the metaverse is actually going to be big, my buddy works for a company right now, and they're spending a lot of money and effort building up their metaverse platform for their retail side of their business. And it's a large company. So the metaverse is going to be a reality in the future. If you think it's really going to take off, maybe Meta is a place where you want to put your money. And then, artificial intelligence. Here you go. And am I worried about it? What I'm worried about with artificial intelligence is discerning reality from what's not reality. That I think to me is going to be the biggest concern that I have in the future. We could talk about, AI going, crazy like iRobot, or, it's going to try to take over the world. If you want to go doomsday mentality, that's there. I think the more realistic thing is going to be what's actually real. We've seen videos getting put out there that seem real, and they're getting better. Like, don't forget, this is early on in the technology. So we watch things being on dating websites. There are platforms out there that are just making profiles that seem legit. Kids are using AI to create papers for their schoolwork. So what is real? What's not real? That to me is going to be my biggest concern for AI in the future, is just that. I think us getting off of the internet for a lot of things is going to be important, just because seeing somebody face to face is going to be the most realistic thing you're going to know. You're going to know its truth. Until, of course, Optimus comes out with realistic robots, then you won't be able to tell. But that's a long ways down the road. All right. Well, I know I said I was going to call it short today, but I missed you guys. But I am going to get off here. It was great chatting with you guys. Again, I'll be on again tomorrow night. So it'll be every day at 6:30 this week, except for Wednesday. If I'm back early enough, I may hop on for a little bit, but it'll be later at like 8 p.m. or so. If not, I'll just do a video for you guys. Otherwise, you guys are awesome as always. I love you guys. And I will see you all in the next one tomorrow night. We will do CPI and gaps and anything else that pops up.